Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Ingraham. This is Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. Thank you, as always, for spending time with us. Privileged and radicalized. That's the focus of tonight's angle. All right, investigators tell us that they're trying to piece together the chain of events that may have led former high school valedictorian Luigi Mangione to become a suspected murderer. His Baltimore upbringing was privileged. His family was considered real estate royalty in the city. They were close-knit, known for their generous support of causes like St. Jude Children's Research Hospital through their private family foundation, which right now has about $4 million in assets. So what went wrong for this whip-smart young man who was seemingly liked by all? Was it a hideously painful aftermath of his back surgery? Or was he somehow radicalized to violence on the internet or even by friends? We don't know. His manifesto reportedly said he wasn't working with anyone else, and he railed against the healthcare industry in it and its leaders. He called them parasites, and he did refer to United Healthcare by name. But until we learn more, I think it is worth examining the place he spent 6 years of his adult life, the University of Pennsylvania. We all know it's part of the Ivy League. It's considered one of the premier institutions of higher learning in America. And as an engineering student, he was immersed in difficult technical classes. So one would think that it is thus fairly insulated, right, from politics. Well, maybe. Maybe as a department it is. But the campus at large, we do know, is as liberal as any other top college or university today. It's worth recalling what happened when hate-filled anti-Israel protests filled the campus.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine!
And when then UPenn President Liz McGill testified on Capitol Hill about the protests, this is how the questioning went down.
Ms. McGill, at Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment, yes.
I am asking specifically calling for the genocide of Jews. Does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context.
Now, of course, Mangione wasn't a student when any of this happened. But the details, the foundation of where he was, it's important to at least understand until we know more. Of course, McGill was forced out, good, but the rot obviously runs deep there. After the United Healthcare CEO murder, an assistant professor named Julia Alexeyeva decided to post fawning comments on TikTok under the name The Soviet. In one, she's seen smiling while playing the song Do You Hear the People Sing from Les Miserables, and the text on the screen reads, "Have never been prouder to be a professor at UPenn." Alexeyeva has since retracted her post, calling them insensitive and inappropriate. She didn't mean any of it. A UPenn deputy dean told The Angle her original posts were antithetical to the values of both the School of Arts and Sciences and the university, and they welcomed the retraction and correction. Okay, that's fine. But how many other Professor Alexeyevas are there embedded at UPenn? And what does it say about the university that she was hired in the first place? Alexeyeva's own website identifies her as a socialist and an ardent anti-fascist. She's an assistant prof in English, cinema, and media studies, researching the nexus between global media and radical leftist politics. Her first academic work is called Anti-Fascism and the Avant-Garde, of course. So the woman is a stereotypical left-wing nightmare, and so naturally, just 9 months ago, the indoctrination overlords at UPenn gave her the Dean's Award for Distinguished Teaching by an assistant professor. More like inspire, motivate, and indoctrinate. Now, you get who this woman is when you watch an interview she did of another UPenn professor, another author, and an ideological twin.
One of the wonderful things about this book is that it's kind of arguing that you don't need to wait until a socialist utopia exists on the scale of the government, that these kind of personal revolutionary acts are still important and integral to the political struggle.
Personal revolutionary acts. Well, and of course, Alexeva had praised the work before the woman started talking there. No wonder she seemed proud that, UPenn graduated a suspected killer. That woman's act, the entire raison d'etre celebrated by the university seems to be stoking radical activism among students. In the spring of 2025, she's teaching a class called Abolition and Liberation. Here's the course description. The course will conclude with viewings of contemporary films and media centering around Black Lives Matter and other liberatory movements. And the course will culminate in a final creative critical project to be completed collaboratively between students and possibly in conjunction with an activist organization. Parents, you're paying for this. Now, let's be clear. There's no indication that Alexeva had any personal interaction with Mangione whatsoever. But that's really not the point of what we're saying here. What we're trying to figure out is what life on campus is like for any undergraduate, which includes the professors who shape the political climate on campus. Consider the language that Mangione used in his outburst Tuesday on the way into court.
Oh my God, that's completely out of touch and an insult to the intelligence of the American people and its lived experience.
And its lived experience. That's the type of typical meaningless phrases heard in liberal arts seminars across America. That's my lived experience. And of course, they're now routinely parroted by left-wing political types in Washington.
I love Gen Z! You all are rightly impatient for change. This is your lived experience.
Donald Trump has nothing in common with the lived experience of black and brown people in the South Bronx.
Everyone comes to Congress with their own lived experiences.
They hide the lived experience of much of America.
I know. Painful, isn't it? Well, the lived experience for most students on college campuses today, what is it? Well, when it comes exam time, tailor your opinions to your professors or risk getting graded down. What about the lived experience for the few faculty members on campus who may tend to be a little more conservative? I'll tell you what your lived experience will be, that you let your political views be known and you can kiss your chances of tenure goodbye. And as for the unsuspecting or vulnerable college student, well, your lived experience will be, that you'll be ripe for being propagandized to, and maybe even being radicalized to believe that sometimes murder is justified to advance socialism. And this is just not happening at UPenn. We see this in Sandy at Columbia, where the killing was downplayed, at St. Louis University, where one professor felt the need to say that she's not sad about Brian Thompson's murder, excuse me. And look, we don't know why Luigi Mangione allegedly felt justified in blowing away a healthcare CEO on a midtown Manhattan sidewalk. But we do know the poisonous teachings of radical revolutionaries echo throughout the lecture halls of our top schools. These revolutionaries view capitalists as oppressors who need to be crushed by any means necessary. So whenever the curtain is pulled back at these elite schools, what do we see? Well, we often see anti-Semitism, anti-capitalism, and yes, anti-Americanism go unchallenged and then passed off as enlightened discourse. But encouraging young people to hate their country, it's a recipe for societal unrest, ignorance, and even violence. It's not education. It's indoctrination. And I hope that President Trump finds a way to strip federal funding of any university that refuses to stop this madness. And that's the angle.
Choo-choo. Board the Trump train or get tied to the tracks. That's what Republicans and even Democrats are telling each other. The train's departing from Mar-a-Lago and everyone's scrambling for a seat. Once you step into the cafe car, you never know who you're going to see.
What we have is a 4-year grace period, but we have to work hard, all of them. And I don't know, the president's got a big job on his hands to turn this place around. A lot of damage was done, and they continue to start fires. I hope in the next 4 years we can get back some of that precious commodity that this country has. That commodity called freedom.
Trump liked the Patriot Award so much, he's giving out his own awards. Look at that line up there getting their hardware. America's most successful entrepreneurs are wintering in Palm Beach. Elon already has his own villa at Mar-a-Lago. Others are just dropping in for dinner.
Have you been down to Mar-a-Lago since the election?
Yes.
How many times?
A fair amount. Maybe half my time down there since the election.
Wow.
That was venture capitalist Mark Andreessen, one of the greatest pioneers of the internet, having dinners on the patio for the nightly pitch meeting. Hey, Trump, what about this? You're hired. Andreessen's not an ideologue. He's met with Biden's team, and they wanted AI to be owned by the government.
They basically said AI is going to be a game of 2 or 3 big companies working closely with the government, and we're going to basically wrap them in a, I'm paraphrasing, but we're going to basically wrap them in a government cocoon. We're going to protect them from competition. We're going to control them, and we're going to dictate what they do. This generation of Democrats, the ones in the White House under Biden, they became very anti-capitalist, and they wanted to go back to much more of a centralized, controlled, planned economy. I don't think there's been an administration this radical on economic policy, on these economic and tech policy. I don't think in ever. The communists 100 years ago wanted industrialization because they knew that industrialization and technological advance made everybody's lives better. They just wanted to seize it all once it was built. These people didn't even want it to get built. And so something went horribly, horribly wrong in this administration.
This is how the Democrats rig the economy. You have a couple of monopolies in each industry that does the government's bidding. Now, everything makes sense, doesn't it? Tomorrow, 47 is going to be ringing the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. And he's been named Time Magazine Person of the Year. Can you believe Time made Hitler Person of the Year? It's got to be a business decision because the legacy media is on life support. CNN just lost to the Food Network. People would rather see veal scallopini being prepared than Wolf Blitzer. And inside of the newsrooms, they've accepted defeat.
If you watch the opinion of us, how many people trust the press anymore? I mean, we're way down there with the lawyers.
Yeah.
This is really rough, as you know.
You're way down there with Congress.
I despair. Seriously, I worry greatly. We're at a point where if the President of the United States is going to say legacy media is dead, well, I guess Musk said that. Legacy media is dead.
And he wants it dead. He wants other media.
But it is kind of, sort of hobbling right now. And I don't know how it recovers. I'm very dark about it.
Well, Biden just pardoned Hunter for what was on the laptop that Leslie Stahl said was fake. And Leslie doesn't know how the media recovers? Retire, Leslie. With all due respect, you're the reason why. The media is panicking. Politico's newsletter is asking, how long can the Trump honeymoon last? 4 years, baby, 4 years. The FBI director gets it. Here's Chris Wray.
After weeks of careful thought, I've decided the right thing for the Bureau is for me to serve until the end of the current administration in January and then step down.
Chris Wray wasn't going to get tied down to the tracks, but not every Democrat has common sense. Eric Swalwell's putting together his own deep state sleeper cell.
To the agents at the FBI and the DOJ prosecutors, I say this. I was a prosecutor once. I had an oath to upkeep to the Constitution and to the court, and you're not helpless. You do not have to follow illegal orders.
The FBI let Swalwell off the hook for sleeping with a Chinese spy, so he's got to be a good little boy with the amount of dirt they have on him. Over at Langley, they're getting a little antsy, too. RFK Jr. is lobbying Trump to put his daughter-in-law at the CIA. He thinks the agency assassinated his uncle and probably his dad and wants to get to the bottom of it. And remember, Trump promised he'd release the JFK files. The government's been abusing its power for decades. We're old enough to know the truth. Some Democrats are saying, count me in. John Fetterman just joined Truth Social. His first post, railing against the deep state for weaponization of the judiciary, said the cases against Trump were BS Over on the Republican side, most of them are on board too.
I think all of Trump's nominees, for the cabinet at least, are going to be confirmed.
Every single one?
I do.
And they're ready to get to work.
We look forward to a very smooth transition at the FBI, and I'll be ready to go on day one.
I'll work with him to get his vision accomplished.
What do you hope to talk to Senator Collins about today?
This is how we're feeling today, right here. Feeling great.
The country's ready for results. The stock market's up, gas prices are down, and Trump's inviting special guests to party at the inaugural balls. The president-elect has invited Xi Jinping of China to witness his inauguration. This is a power move to intimidate the Chinese leader. If he declines, it's disrespectful, and Trump will take it personally. And if he accepts, he'll be forced to observe President Trump at his most powerful moment, with all the presidential pageantry America can muster. You put Xi Jinping in a subservient position, plus you can spy on him the whole time he's in D.C. Trump saying, I'm putting the Bidens out to pasture. Watch. You bribed the wrong guy. The country's on a hot streak, and we're pretty much ready to get things done. So the Democrats should sit back and enjoy the ride. Choo-choo. Dr. Jill is.
I hope that you all feel that sense of, peace and light, and that just for a moment when you leave here today that you feel, a sense of joy. Because I think we all need we all need to feel joy now during this time of the season, during this time.
But we begin with an alarming story from the East Coast of the United States. For nearly a month, since November the 18th, that's over 3 weeks, night after night after night, residents in part of the great state of New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, they have looked into the sky at night. They have observed something very, very unusual. Dozens of large, unidentified objects the size of a bus, as loud as a Harley, flying extremely low, and have been spotted and filmed across multiple locations. 49 sightings this past Sunday alone. Now, some look like drones with FAA-mandated red and green lights hovering above neighborhoods. Others look like something from, out of this world, with claims from even elected officials that they emerged from the ocean. One New Jersey police chief said that these objects have been reported above key pieces of infrastructure like water reservoirs, electric transmission lines, rail stations, police departments, military installations. And according to CBS News, the police chief added that their presence appears nefarious in nature. Congressman Chris Smith, he said that more than a dozen of these possible drones stalked a U.S. Coast Guard vessel in the Atlantic Ocean, with another 50 spotted above Island Beach State Park in New Jersey. Now, similar flying objects, they were even seen above Trump's Bedminster golf course, and in Brooklyn, another dozen drones. They were witnessed near the Verrazano Narrow Bridge, and the FAA just issued a flight restrictions for multiple areas where these flying vessels were spotted. New Jersey lawmakers, they are calling for a state of emergency. Of course, anxiety is running high, and rightfully so. There are random objects the size of a bus that sound like a Harley hovering all over, the state of New Jersey, people's homes, even the president-elect's golf club and other important installations. But let me be clear. This is not a story about aliens. This is not an extraterrestrial segment. Instead, this is a serious, alarming, potential national security threat that your government does not seem to care about at all or feel the need to explain in any way, and that fails to get to the bottom of this. The same people that tried to hide China's spy balloon, we learned about that later. Well, it's probably from China, but let's not say anything and hope nobody notices. They let it fly all over the U.S., above key U.S. nuclear sites and military bases. They're now doing nothing, absolutely nothing. You can't make it up. About the hundreds of low-flying objects lighting up the sky in the Northeast night after night after night. So, I don't know. Are we under attack or about to be? Are we being spied on by a foreign adversary? Is this a secret U.S. program? Is somebody collecting your personal data? Is it a dry run for a future attack? Who's controlling these objects? And we have no idea. And maybe in the end, let me be very clear, maybe in the end this turns out to be nothing. I actually hope that's true. But the fact that your government doesn't know and hasn't known now for weeks is chilling. The apparent message from Joe Biden and Kamala and Mayorkas, even our own military, close your eyes and pretend like it's not happening. Well, that's not going to secure our country. And like a good Democratic stooge, New Jersey's idiotic governor, and he's an idiot, Phil Murphy, he seems happy to let it all play out despite all of the glaring concerns and him acknowledging it's scary, but nothing to be alarmed about. Take a look.
These are apparently very, as I understand it, very sophisticated. The minute you get eyes on them, they go dark. And, you know, we're obviously most concerned about sensitive targets and sensitive critical infrastructure. So we've got military assets, we've got utility assets, we've got the president-elect's one of his homes here. This is something we're taking deadly seriously.
Yeah, but no reason for anybody to be really concerned. While Phil Murphy does nothing, other elected officials, they are demanding answers. The Biden administration, they are pretty short on details. You decide.
That was an amateur hour presentation where they told us nothing. When I got here today, I was concerned about what I could tell my constituents to ease their concerns. Now, I'm legitimately concerned. The colonel of state police told us that he had one of his helicopters hovering above one of these drones, but felt unsafe for the pilots, so he let the drone go and had them come land. We are not, the state police, the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, they are not doing what they need to do to figure out what the issue is. Their answer to us was they don't have any answers, and they're not sure what's going on.
Since November the 18th. Can't make it up. Now, New Jersey Congressman Jeff Van Drew, he speculated these drones are from the #1 state sponsor of terror, Iran, and do pose a very serious threat to our homeland. This is what he said.
From very high sources, very qualified sources, very responsible sources, I'm going to tell you the real deal. Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones. That mothership is off, I'm going to tell you the deal. It's off the east coast of the United States of America. They've launched drones, is everything that we can see or hear. And again, these are from high sources. I don't say this lightly.
Now, today, the Department of Defense, they denied Van Drew's allegations, but they wouldn't share any details. The DOD says they are aware of the drones, and that's pretty much it. That's it? End of story? We also have a few details, few details or answers from anyone at the FBI, the DHS, the Biden-Harris White House, or any other so-called public servant or national security official. Apparently, under Biden, they don't really feel they need to answer you. They probably don't even know, which makes it even worse. Under Biden, this is not a government by the people, for the people, of the people. It's a shady cabal of all-powerful, unelected bureaucrats that don't really seem to give a damn if you are concerned or worried, and they're the ones that should be on top of this. Americans, we're entitled to answers. If you have something the size of a bus flying all over the skies of our country, I think we need to know about that. If they're flying over your homes, your businesses, I think we need to know. We deserve the answer. It shouldn't take this long. They're supposed to work for us. Thankfully, 40 days. Well, a long national nightmare will be over. The games will stop. There will be a reckoning. And by the way, if this is Iran, if this is an adversary, if this is China, if it is, there will be hell to pay. That I can pretty much promise. I haven't talked to Donald Trump, just a good guess. And the left in their Orwellian style of government will be driven out of town. We'll have a lot more coming up. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.